So while I'm sipping on some tequila, I'd like to hear about this interaction you had with Rashad Evans. What were the circumstances and what led up to this?
Yeah, no problem. So this was during my UFC debut. So it was fight week, and so Rashad Evans. I grew up in a small town outside of Buffalo. It's called Lewiston, New York. It's like the smallest little town. I love it. I go back every year. I'm gonna go back when I can. So Rashad Evans is a little bit older than me. He grew up in the town right next to us, Niagara Wheatfield. So Lewiston, like where I grew up, and Niagara Wheatfield have kind of a rivalry. Like they're both like two small towns that kind of go back and forth. A little bit of rivalry. When I went to high school, we would go to like parties where there'd be like Wheatfield guys, and we'd get in fights with them, and like one of their guys would try to date one of our girls, and vice versa. We were always getting in fights and stuff with those guys. Not Rashad, because he was already graduated.
Yeah, imagine Rashad Evans wants to date your girl.
Oh yeah, let it go, man. Just let her have it. But no, so Newport and Niagara Wheatfield always had like a little bit of a rivalry, and I always, I knew of Rashad Evans from the Ultimate Fighter, from being a world champion, from all that, and I knew where he was from. I knew exactly like where he grew up. So I've always had a lot of respect for him, and he was like one of my favorite fighters because he was from our hometown. So I meet Rashad, and I met him once before, just like shook his hand, nice to meet you. But during fight week, he was actually there with Justin Gagey and Trevor Whitman, and they were making these or they were basically talking to fighters about these new products they're making. And then Rashad was also there doing some broadcasting. So I meet him there like the first day. I meet him on Tuesday, and I'm like signing the posters or whatever. And I introduced, I'm talking to him. He's like, "Oh, nice to meet you, yada, yada." I'm like, "Yeah, I know you're from Wheatfield. We've been stomping you guys out for a while now." And right away, we were like busting balls, like kind of joking, like, "Oh, yeah, you Lewiston kids are always talking, shit or whatever." And so we hit it off right away, and we're just joking, busting balls. So it was cool. Him and Justin Gagey actually brought us up, and me and Frivola, and they took our measurements, and they said they were going to send us a bunch of equipment. But then they actually sent us a letter last month saying they had to pause that because of COVID, which sucks because we were going to get a bunch of free equipment, which, I love free stuff. So
this is Trevor Whitman's Onyx brand that he does, like the headgear and stuff like that.
Yep. They explained it all to us. They're like, "Yo, this is like, Justin Gagey." It was crazy. It was Justin Gagey, Rashad Evans, me, Frivola, all in like this little hotel room. And he was telling us about all these products, and we were just happy to be there. So this is fight week. We're just hanging out with Justin Gagey the whole fight week and Rashad Evans. So we were talking and stuff, and just kind of busting balls. And so fight night happens. I go out and I get the win. And right after the fight, like we always do, I don't drink for like months before. So right after the fight, I just win my UFC debut. We go out to the bars, start drinking, tipping them back, and just like what you're doing. And we go out and we start drinking, and we go out, and then the bars closed at like 2 a.m. So like it wasn't that late of a night, like 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
We go and get a bunch of pizza, and so we get a bunch of pizza, and I love, like, I'm from Buffalo, so we eat blue cheese with everything. So like pizza and blue cheese. So I remember we got a couple pizzas, and they had a bunch of like blue cheese things. So I had a bunch of them in like my pocket. The reason I'm telling you, there's a reason why I'm telling you this. Don't worry, not just I'm a fat ass. So I get the pizza, and I get all this. I have like my UFC walkout jacket, and I have like a bunch of blue cheese like packets stuffed in there.
Okay.
So we go back to the we go back to the hotel, and I'm ready to eat the rest of this pizza. So me and my girl go back to the hotel room. We start walking through, and like the fighters' hotel, and there's fighters there. Like I saw Paul Felder walking by, and like we said hi to him and everything. And we take the elevator up to my room. So we take the elevator up, and we're on like floor, the fourth floor or whatever. And so we take it up, and like while my elevator door opens, across the hall another elevator opened, and it was Rashad Evans. So I get out and I see Rashad, and instead of like busting each other's balls, he was just super happy for me. He's like, "Oh man, what's up, man? Billy, what's up, bro?" He's like, "Man, that fight was crazy." He's like, "Man, you dominated that guy." And I'm kind of looking at him, and like we were both kind of drunk. It was like it was 2 a.m. We he was already done working for the day, and I already got done fighting. So
mm-hmm.
right away I'm like, "Rashad, I got to get a picture with you. You know, I'm a big fan. Like, I want to get a picture with you. So my girl's still with us. So she takes a picture of us real quick. And he starts asking me, he's like, hey, man, I want to ask you, like, how do you like to set up your takedowns? And like just an innocent question. And, you know, I'm drinking, I'm talking to him, and I'm like, what am I going to tell Rashad Evans? You know, he knows all this stuff. But right before I go show him, I'm like, you know, I got to like take my jacket off because I got all these all I thought was all these blue cheese. Like I'm like, I'm about to get blue cheese everywhere. So when he asked me, I said, hold on a second, Rashad, I got to take this off. So I go and take my jacket off. While I'm doing that, he's watching me. So he takes off his jacket. He's wearing like a suit. So he takes off his sports coat too. And I'm like, oh God, what did I get myself into? So first we start off, and I'm showing him like this silly little takedown. I like throw a punch and I grab the single leg, and then he starts doing it. But when he starts doing it, he shows me his takedown, but he basically just tackles me. So he basically tackles me, and then it turns into this 20-minute thing where we're basically grappling with each other. So he tackles me and he shows me, and then I don't want to look like a bitch. So I like basically do mine, but I do it like more intensely. You know, I like grabbed him, and then he's like, no, you got to do it like this. And next thing you know, we're literally grappling, like two drunk dudes grappling each other at 2 a.m. And you know, my girl took the picture, and then after it, she could tell we were about to start like messing around. So she's like, I'll just see you in the room. So she left, and we ended up grappling for like 20 minutes, and he's showing me all these moves. And he's like tackling me. It was pretty much like a wrestling practice. Yeah, and that took place at like 2 to 3 in the morning, right after my fight. And the next morning, like when I woke up, that was like the thing I was most excited about. I was like, man, that whole thing was so cool because he didn't have to do that. And you know, if he would have known like how much I looked up to him growing up to that, you know, getting to that level, you know, that was Rashad Evans. He was, you know, world champion. He's from my hometown. And yeah, I got a chance to grapple with him for like an hour. We still got a picture where we're both just like, yeah, that was probably the best experience I had fight week besides actually getting the win and the debut. And that was you know, just a special moment for me, even though we were intoxicated. But we had a great time, and I don't even know if he remembers it, but for me, it was a big moment for me.
That's how the best stories happen. When people are over the top and under the influence, as we like to say.
Yeah, it was just us. It was just us two. It was just us three, and then Bree went to bed, and I got to grapple Rashad Evans for like an hour, and that was technically on my birthday. So